Hello and welcome. Today I am going to be discussing the season 1 finale of House of the Dragon, the heartbreaking episode. So, like my previous videos, I will start with an episode recap and then go into some parts of the episode that I wanted to highlight or call out that may have been missed. So, with that, sit back, relax, and let's get started. The first season of House of the Dragon has ended, and the Dance of the Dragons has begun. The finale followed Rhaenyra and her family as they learned of Viserys' death and made their first moves to challenge the Hightowers for the Iron Throne. Before Rhaenys arrives at Dragonstone, Rhaenyra and her second-born, Lucerys, have a conversation around the map of Westeros. Luke tells his mother that he doesn't want Driftmark and that the Valyrian lordship should have gone to Aemond. Rhaenyra puts her son at ease, saying that she was also nervous when she became her father's heir, and that she will help prepare him for the duty. The sweet moment ends with a knight alerting them of Rhaenys' arrival. When Rhaenys tells Rhaenyra and Daemon of King Viserys' death and Aegon's coronation, they have very different reactions. Daemon is instantly enraged, assuming that Alicent murdered his brother, which Rhaenys can neither confirm or deny. He also asks why Rhaenys didn't just burn the usurpers alive as she escaped the dragon pit, but Rhaenys says that the war is not hers to begin. Rhaenyra's devastated as she learns the news, but before she can react, she begins bleeding. As Rhaenyra enters early labor in her chambers, Daemon gathers their allies for a war council. Before he can jump into action, Daemon is stopped by Jacaerys, who Rhaenyra ordered to halt any war plans, again mid-labor. Though he cannot make any big moves, Daemon continues his power games by commanding the Knights of the Kingsguard at Dragonstone to swear fealty to their new queen under threat of death by his dragon, Jacaerys. he doesn't return to his wife until her labor is over and she has delivered a stillborn baby. Rhaenyra quickly performs burial rites following the stillbirth, and the residents of Dragonstone hold a funeral on the beach. During the funeral, Sir Eric, the Night Twin who disliked Aegon, arrives and offers Viserys' golden crown to Rhaenyra. As Eric repledges his Kingsguard oath, Daemon crowns Rhaenyra as queen. The funeral is followed by the first official war council, with Rhaenyra presiding and her sons attending. The new queen confirms her allies for her side of the conflict, but they're unsure of where houses Arryn, Stark, and Baratheon will fall. Rhaenys also says that the Valyrians' fleet is at the command of Lord Corlys, who is recovering from his injury and is on his way to Dragonstone. Daemon briefly takes over the meeting when the subject turns to dragons, as he confirms that they have 7 claimed dragons and 6 riderless dragons, while the Hightowers only have 4 total. Before the building tension between the couple can break, they receive word that an envoy from King's Landing is arriving. Daemon goes out to the bridge outside Dragonstone to meet Otto Hightower and his party. Rhaenyra arrives late, riding in on Syrax and blocking the party's exit. Otto offers Rhaenyra terms for bending the knee to Aegon. They would get Dragonstone, which would pass on to Jace. Luke would be heir to Driftmark, and her and Daemon's sons would become Aegon's squire and cup-bearer in the Red Keep. Daemon immediately refuses, but Otto points out that Aegon has all of the symbols of legitimacy, including Aegon the Conqueror's crown and sword, while Rhaenyra only has stale oaths. He then offers Rhaenyra a folded piece of paper, the same book page that she ripped out of the history book while hanging out with Alicent back when they were friends all those years ago. Before the parley can devolve into violence, courtesy of Daemon, the usurped queen stopped them and told Otto to wait for her answer. In another war council, Rhaenyra argues that her true duty to Westeros is to reign over it peacefully, rather than ruling over a kingdom of Rhaenyra clears the room. Once they're alone, she reminds Daemon of her ultimate oath, the Song of Ice and Fire. When she says that Viserys shared it with her long ago, Daemon grabs her throat, emphasizing that dragons, not dreams, made the Targaryens kings. After he lets her go, Rhaenyra realizes that her father never told Daemon about the century-old prophecy. When Corlys awakens in a room at Dragonstone, Rhaenys is there, angry that he abandoned her to battles at war after Laena and Laenor died. She also tells him about Vaemon's death, and with that, Corlys finally gives up his ambitions for the Iron Throne, telling Rhaenys they should remain neutral and live a quiet life on Driftmark with their grandchildren. Instead, Rhaenys reminds him that Jace, Luke, and Joffrey will never be safe, hints that she trusts Rhaenyra as the only person at the war table who has shown restraint instead of plunging the country into war. Corlys and Rhaenys go down to the Great Hall, where he swears loyalty to Rhaenyra and reveals that their side has not only his fleet, but also control of the narrow sea. The Queen still refuses to strike the first blow in the war, but she does want to secure the support of the three great houses remaining. Jace suggests that he and Luke go to convince the lords themselves, and she sends her eldest to the Eyrie and Winterfell, while the younger goes to Storm's End. She also makes them swear that they will go as messengers, not warriors. While all of that was happening, Daemon was missing from the War Council, having disappeared somewhere after arguing with his wife. He instead went down into the active volcano Dragonmont, where the unclaimed and wild dragons live. We briefly see him approaching Vermithor, the second largest living dragon, but we don't see whether they claim each other. When Luke arrives at the Baratheon castle, his uncle Aemond is already there. An arrogant Boros Baratheon tells Luke that Aemond has already promised to marry one of his daughters, which Luke can't do because he's betrothed to Rhaena. Baratheon refuses to join Rhaenyra's side and sends Luke away, but before he can leave, Aemond steps up and demands Luke cut out his eye as payment for the long ago accident. Luke keeps his oath not to fight, but Aemond rushes at him. Before they reach each other, Baratheon stops them from fighting under his roof and sends Luke to his dragon, Arrax. A thunderstorm is raging outside Storm's End, and Luke warns Arrax to stay calm and obey him before they set off. They don't get very far before Aemond catches up on Vagar, and the size difference is obvious. The giant dragon could clutch the young Arrax's body with one of his feet. Aemond chases Luke through the storm, and for a minute Luke evades the chase. However, Arrax takes the chance to launch a sneak attack on Vagar, attacking him with fire as Luke tries to stop him. After that, both of the men lose control of their dragons, though it seems like the chase is over when Luke gets out of the storm and emerges into a sunny sky. After a brief moment of peace, Vagar, completely out of control, gets in front of Luke and Arrax and catches them in his mouth, tearing the dragon and his rider in two. The final scene shows Daemon walking through the Dragonstone Hall to tell Rhaenyra of Luke's demise. The couple face the fireplace, and the mother collapses in on herself in grief. It's only a moment until Rhaenyra turns around, with a single tear trailing down her face and a look of raging resolve on her face. The first strike has been thrown, and the war is on. So that was all for the recap, and now I'm going to go through some of the moments that may have been missed. Number 1. A page from the past. One of the coolest Easter eggs in the House of the Dragon finale called back to episode 1 and even further in the past. When Sir Otto arrives at Dragonstone to give Rhaenyra terms of surrender, he is essentially scoffed at. However, he offers one thing to Rhaenyra that gives her pause, even if it confuses Daemon. It's a single torn page of illuminated manuscript. What is the meaning of this page? Why did Alicent send it to Rhaenyra? Well, if you can remember episode 1 of House of the Dragon, young Rhaenyra and Alicent were the best of friends, giggling through King's Landing and gossiping in the Godswood. While in the Godswood, Alicent tested Rhaenyra's knowledge of Westerosi history, and Rhaenyra not only aced the pop quiz, but tore a page from Alicent's history book in Rebellion. That page, the page Otto gave Rhaenyra. Alicent has sent the page as a way of leveraging their past friendship in this fraught situation. It's meant to be a reminder that they were once best buds and that Alicent still cares about Rhaenyra. Of course, being that this is House of the Dragon, there is an extra layer of Easter egg in this single shot. The specific page tells part of the story of Nymeria, the Rhoynish queen who led her people across oceans from Essos to Dorne. Nymeria is an iconic female figure in the world of George R.R. Martin. So much so, Arya Stark names her direwolf after her. And yes, HBO is developing a series about this mythic queen. This specific page tells of how Nymeria lashed her 10,000 ships together to weather storms. Symbolic, probably, but is it symbolizing how the realm must be lashed together, or how Rhaenyra is grasping at supporters? Number 2. Who's the largest dragon of them all? One cool thing about the House of the Dragon finale is we finally got a true sense of how big dragons can get when left unchecked. Of course, it was hard to miss how much the centuries-old Vagar dwarfed Lucerys' baby dragon Arrax at Storm's End, but there was another huge dragon in this episode. After pointing out how many random dragons the Blacks have just hanging out on Dragonstone, Daemon Targaryen is dispatched to seek out the most illustrious of them all. Armed only with a torch and Valyrian lullabies, Daemon faces down a shaggy, older dragon the captions tell us is Vermithor. So, who is Vermithor? Vermithor was the dragon ridden by King Jacaerys, aka the old guy who was king before Viserys. Because Jacaerys had such a long life and reign, Vermithor was allowed to grow to huge proportions. According to the books, Vermithor was a very big boy. The only dragons known to be bigger: Balerion the Dread, who is dead by this time, and Vagar. The largest dragon in Westeros at this time is indeed Aemond's Vagar. Vermithor is also huge, but not quite as big as the much older dragon. Daemon's Caryxes seems to be the third largest dragon we've met so far, while Rhaenys' dragon Maleys should technically be a lot bigger given her age. She's a mid-size dragon. Seasmoke and Syrax are also in that middle range. The younger Targaryen's dragons are all much smaller, as they only hatched in the cradle of their riders. Number 3. Jace's journey to to Cregan Stark. A pivotal moment in House of the Dragon Season 1, Episode 10 is when Jace volunteers the younger dragon riders as emissaries. He argues that dragons are faster than ravens and more convincing. He is also clearly hungry to prove himself as his mother's heir. Jace's idea sends his brother to an early grave, but where is Jace off to? Well, that's rather more fun. We're told in House of the Dragon, the Black Queen, that Jace will fly north, first to treat with Emma Arryn's cousin, Lady Jane Arryn, and then to Winterfell to deal with someone named Cregan Stark. While we're not told much about Lady Jane Arryn, Rhaenyra does tell Jace that he's closer in age to Cregan Stark, and she hopes they can find something in common. Cregan Stark, ironically known later as the Old Man in the North, he's your typical no-nonsense Stark through and through, and we might get to meet him next season. Number 4. Is Lord Boros Baratheon illiterate? Instead of getting to meet the cool Lord Cregan Stark, we had to deal with the literally boorish Lord Boros Baratheon in the episode. Rhaenyra warns her son Luke that he is a proud man, but it seems he's also an illiterate one. Let's back up for a second. Who is Boros Baratheon? He is the son of Lord Boromund Baratheon, the relatively nice guy who put up with young Rhaenyra's rudeness in his hall and who stand his cousin Rhaenys for the Iron Throne. His son, on the other hand, is not quite the man Boromund was. When Lucerys arrives at Storm's End, he's given a chilly reception before meeting Boros, his 4 unwed daughters, and Aemond. Lord Boros straight up tells Luke that he will not hold fast to the oath made by his father decades ago. All he wants is a prince to marry one of his 4 daughters, and since Lucerys has been recently betrothed to Rhaenyra has nothing to offer House Baratheon. While the books made it clear that Lord Boros's daughters have personalities of their own, the only extra character shading the show gives us an awkward moment when Lord Boros needs a maester to read Rhaenyra's offer to him. The implication is that Lord Boros is illiterate. There is a darker shade to this moment, though. There's a fan theory that the Hightowers are working with the Maesters to bring House Targaryen down. The fact that Lord Boros doesn't read the message himself, that he allows his Maester to impart Rhaenyra's words to him, is honestly suspicious. who knows if the Maester is giving Lord Boros the full scope of Rhaenyra's offer. Number 5. What is with Aemond's blue eye? One of the most metal moments of the House of the Dragon Season 1 finale comes when Aemond takes off his eye patch to reveal a white walker eye? No, that's not right. It's a star sapphire, or a very fancy blue gemstone that he's placed where his old eye used to be. While it's never explicitly pointed out or explained in the episode, we have seen a glimpse of Aemond's canonical star sapphire eye accessory in the House of the Dragon opening credits. A glittering blue gem is what represents Aemond in the blue line we see before each episode. So, what's the deal with the star sapphire? It's basically Aemond pulling a Tyrion Lannister when it comes to his missing eye. Remember how Tyrion told Jon Snow that the world would never forget he's a bastard, so he should just own it? Aemond is owning his missing eye by using a very rare jewel in its place. In the books, he keeps the eye patch on most of the time, not to scare folks. As for the fact that it makes Aemond look kind of like a white walker, well, that might be intentional. Not so much as a sign of what's to come, but a thematic nod to the threats House Targaryen faces. Rhaenyra has been worrying about the threat of White Walkers this entire season, but maybe the real monster was in her own family this whole time. So that is all for today. I hope you enjoyed. As always,